Hi everyone, welcome back to Code with Us. This is another Java tutorial. This time we'll be covering the switch statement. Okay, so I assume if you're watching this video, you've seen the video on variables and if statements, and if you want the user input as well, but that's not so important right now. All we need for this tutorial to know is how to use variables, generally speaking, and also if statements, just so you can compare the difference between if statements and the switch statement, which we're going to be learning in this video. Alright, so let's begin. First, we want to create a variable. Let's just keep it simple with a string. So we say we want to create a string. Anyway, a string, and we just put anything in there, whatever you want to put. For example, let's just say, actually I'm going to stick with how my other videos were. I'll just stick with food. There we go. Anyway. Alright, so let's begin with this switch statement. So what a switch statement does is it allows you to compare a single variable against a whole bunch of different cases. What the difference is that between an if statement or an if else and an else if, all of that stuff, it just makes it easier for certain, when you want to compare certain terms. If you're just going to compare one thing and you're just going to compare it with a whole set of different terms to see which one it matches, it just makes it easier to use a switch statement. But again, that depends on preference and also what your application is going to do. But anyway, so to do this, you start off with switch and parentheses and open brackets. So now you've just opened up a switch statement. What we do now is, let's say, so we've got our string over there that holds the value of chicken. We're going to put that string, which is called food, we're going to put that inside the switch statement like this. So now what you're saying is, alright, this is a switch statement, and in this switch statement I want to compare the value food. Now, what switch statements have is they have these things, they're called cases, or case, for example. So type case, and inside of case you say, okay, let's put so let's put something like eggs, right? So put a colon here, and what this line means, right? What the statement means right now is, in the case that the variable, which is food in this right now, if food, in the case that food is equal to eggs, then do what I say now, which would be just a simple system.out.println. Not true, but you know, whatever. Just write anything for now. We're gonna, if food is equal to eggs, we're just gonna write. It's gonna print out the thing, the statement, I don't like eggs. There's something important now. What you gotta do is you've got to write another statement, and that's called break. Break is important because then it knows, okay, this is the end of this case. It knows when to end a certain case. So now you can do another case like this. And you say in the case that food is equal to bacon. Just write. Just write, oh yes, bacon is amazing. That's assuming you guys like bacon. But who doesn't like bacon, right? Again, a bit of break. And this is just a general syntax of using a switch statement. You have a whole bunch of cases, each with their own condition, and what to do if that condition is fulfilled, or that case is true, and you have to include the break. The break is very important. Otherwise, it will carry on going through each case, even if a case is correct. So, say for example, if we didn't have break, I'll show you later in a bit, but it would print out, I don't like eggs. And then it will go through all of the other cases, and it will probably print out, I think it does print out like the other cases. But we'll go through it first. Let's just finish this off. Oops. One more cheese. No, just random. That's about. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. Alright, so we want to add one more, one more case. Let's finish this one. One more. Oh, yeah, it's fine. So now in the case that it is chicken, what do you want to do? Well, you want to say out. And again, if you guys remember to add the break. Oh, okay. So once you've got all your cases sorted out, you're not done because you have one more case that you need to put. It's not really a case, but it's something called a default. So you just say default, and what this is this means, okay, so you've given me the switch statement perspective. You've given me this variable food. Now you're telling me if in the case that food is equal to eggs, do this. If it's equal to bacon, do this. If it's equal to cheese, do this. And if it's chicken, do this. Now, what default says is, okay, I've checked all of these, and food doesn't equal any of these. So now, what do you want me to do? So this is the default case in which food does not equal any of your cases. That's all it is. So now we just say, alright, well, if it's a default, I just wanted to S out and say, what the heck is that? Let's be a bit polite. Okay, something like that. And we can add another break. Okay, so that's literally it. That is your switch statement now. You have your switch statement. Let's give it a test. Save it and give it a test. Control S. So obviously in your switch statements you can have a whole bunch of these. I mean, you can have as many cases as you want, up to, you know, like I said, as many as you want. Let me just quickly test this first. Okay, so you can see the result was, oh yeah, chicken is my favorite because food is equal to chicken. Let's see what happens if we change it to eggs, like this. Let's say run. Well, it says I don't like eggs because it was equal to eggs, and that's what we told it to do. Let me just try something else. We tried bacon, but let's try bacon. I'm not sure what happens. Let's see. Run. Okay. As you can see, because I entered bacon without a capital B, and it doesn't exactly match the case. Remember, one thing to make sure is that it has to match the case. Obviously, if it starts with a capital, or is a capital in between, anywhere inside, that value must also have a capital. So that's a problem with switch statements. If you don't, it will automatically assume that it's not any of the cases, even if the word or the text is exactly the same, but just, you know, using a different case. Yeah. It's printing out the default because it says, what the heck is that food? I'm sorry, I've yet to taste that food, because it's not recognized bacon with lowercase. But if we change that obviously back to a capital, it will taste, oh yes, bacon is amazing, is what it outputs. So guys, that's pretty much the switch statement. It's just an alternative to using, instead of using if statements. It really depends on your situation, what you're currently coding, and just give it a go, practice with it. One thing you guys can do to practice is, instead of, you know, using just string food equals, make sure that string is equal to a JOPS and pane, so it takes an input from a user and then it'll compare that with a switch statement. And you can also do that with a scanner, so use a scanner object to take an input and then put that into the string variable, which will then be compared. I mean, that's a good bit of practice with not just switch, but also with the user inputs tutorial. If you've not yet seen it, I recommend you go watch that as well. Okay guys, so I've just forgot to show you something. I'll quickly show you now about the break. This is what happens if you don't put a break in your case. So as you can see, it says bacon right now. The string variable food contains the value bacon. So let's just take this off. So we take the break break off, or the case if in the case that food is equal to eggs, right? And we change this to eggs, for example. And if I now say run file, If you see the output, it says I don't like eggs, which is fine, yes, but it also went into the next one, and even though the case is not bacon, it's still printed out, oh yes, bacon is amazing, right? So I'll show you again. Let's control seal this. If you remove all the cases, it will print everything up until the case. So I mean, you take this off as well, you can take all the breaks. As you can see, just printed everything out, because it just does, the break is there, it tells it to say, alright, this is where you stop. So if you don't have a break, this is the problem. This is the problem you're going to encounter. So that's why it's always important to have breaks after your case is finished. Each case is finished. And alright, guys, I think that's it for this. That's everything to do with the switch statement. I hope you enjoyed and you learned how to use the switch statement. I'll see you guys in the next video.